Around 55 Klan members gathered under the hot midday sun to march through downtown Montgomery. Only slightly more than 35 of them wore the traditional white hooded robes. Chants of white power echoed as the procession made its way slowly down Dexter Avenue from the Capitol, past the federal court building, up Adams Avenue, and finally returning to the Capitol. Spectators along the streets had little visible reaction to the Klan. A few people stretched out in the sun on the grassy hills in front of the Capitol building. Following the march, the leader of the Klansmen, Don Black, told the group they were marching to show someone is fighting for the rights of white people. One of the reasons for the march was to protest a recently passed state law that forbids firearms within 1,000 feet of a public demonstration. Black said the Klan will challenge the law in court.
We believe it's unconstitutional. We believe it's very awkward and it's impossible to enforce equally. And we believe we're going to win. On Monday morning, we will be filing a suit and we will attempt to have a declaratory judgment, a ruling against this law, and have it thrown out so that we'll no longer, people of Alabama will not be plagued by this kind of restriction, which leads ultimately to a tyranny.
A few minutes later, the demonstration disbanded, with many of those here today planning to attend a cross-burning planned for tonight near Millbrook.
The Klansmen vowed to take on an even more visible appearance with more rallies planned in the upcoming weeks. The beginning, they say, of a long struggle to return to a white majority rule in the U.S. Michael Jones, WSFA TV News at the state capitol.
Business in the downtown Montgomery area was light today, more than likely in anticipation of the Klan march and the possibility of violence. Police Chief Charles Swindle. Do you think that when a Klan march is announced well in advance, a lot of citizens stay away from the downtown area?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure that you have a few curious people, but I think you saw the example today. The only people downtown was Klan and the police officers and a few shoppers.
Law enforcement officials were out en masse before, during, and after the Klan march. In fact, Montgomery Police, County Sheriff's Department officers, and state troopers outnumbered marchers more than 2 to 1. As promised, police kept a close eye on the Klansmen, looking for guns under their robes, but they found nothing. Mayor Emery Falmer afterwards said he was proud of the way officers and citizens handled themselves during the march. Police Chief Swindle noted the large law enforcement contingency was not a show of force, but rather a precautionary step.
A combined effort of about 100 law enforcement officers were on hand this afternoon to take care of the march.
Did you expect any trouble, or were you anticipating it?
No, we don't ever expect any. We try to prepare for it.
Were you satisfied with today's protection?
I think the officers done an excellent job. We had full cooperation out of the Klan. They did not cause any problems. They marched as I guess they have a right to, and we didn't want anybody bothering them or them bothering anybody, so that's the reason the officers on hand today.
Law enforcement officials will be back out next weekend as a different Klan group completes a 3-day march from Selma to Montgomery. Paul Roth, WSFA TV News.
Saturday, August 4th, about 50 Ku Klux Klan members marched through downtown Montgomery to protest, among other things, a new state law prohibiting firearms within 1,000 feet of a public demonstration. But firearms were present, carried by law enforcement officers who outnumbered the Klansmen 2 to 1. Montgomery policemen put in over 260 man-hours Saturday following a lengthy planning session with county and state law officials. Montgomery Mayor Emery Falmer was involved in the preparation and was on the scene during the march. Falmer has kept tabs on what it cost the city.
It was a burden on the taxpayer. It was counting everything that we did Saturday over and above our normal patrolling activity and normal detective work and normal administration. We probably spent $2,500 of the taxpayers' money providing security and traffic control, one for the Heart Fund, which was a very small amount, maybe $100 to $150, and then the balance of it of $2,300, counting everything, to provide security for the Ku Klux Klan parade.
The Klan is planning a Selma to Montgomery march, leaving Selma Thursday, getting to Montgomery sometime Sunday. Does Fulmer plan any changes from the way city has handled past marches?
Our plan will be that when a group like this that has a propensity to cause violence comes to town, we will be there in such sufficient force to be able to guarantee, one, that no one will bother the group that's going to parade, nor will they be allowed to bother anybody else.
Michael Jones, WSFA TV News.
Mayor Emery Fulmer says the city has been lenient in granting parade permits to all groups who ask for them. The Klan had a permit to march in Montgomery just last weekend. But City Clerk John Baker says Klansmen didn't request a parade permit for this weekend until Friday, which was too late for the application to be put on Tuesday night's City Council agenda. Klansmen say they applied for the permit 2 weeks ago and that city bureaucrats are dragging their feet in granting it. Whatever the reason, the Klan has no permit to assemble in Montgomery this weekend. They say they will march anyway. Klansmen expect to get to Montgomery sometime Sunday morning. If they pass this point, they could clash with Mayor Fulmer and city police. The mayor has said he won't allow the KKK to march through the city without a permit, and the Klan can't get a permit before Sunday unless a special meeting is called of the city council. That's not likely to happen. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News.
The Rogue Klansmen showed up in vans and buses for this march that they say is to counter the 1965 Civil Rights March from Selma to Montgomery. Klan dragon Bill Wilkerson told reporters they were unmoved when the Montgomery City Council denied them a parade permit to complete this march.
Well, first, we're going to attempt to get an injunction. Failing that, we're just going to march anyway. We've demonstrated good faith in applying for the permits, and the city and the chief of police, the council, and the mayor has given us the runaround. And it's obvious they just don't want to grant us a permit. So we're going to try. We're going to continue to try up until the moment to get an injunction or whatever, reason with the mayor. But, you know, we're going in or going to jail, one of the two.
The only confrontation with Selma officials arose over large dogs that Klansmen had planned to take with them.
Are we going to be arrested if we carry these dogs?
Beg pardon?
Are we going to be arrested?
When you get out of the city limits, as far as I'm concerned, our jurisdiction ends at the police jurisdiction. If you want to take your dogs with you, then that's fine.
The march through Selma was heavily monitored. There were more spectators than participants. The Klansmen chanted white power as they crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Black power! Ain't no such thing as power! Black power! Black power! Black power! Black power! Hey, out here, you got the right thing going now. No, you got the wrong thing, my man.
For the next 3 days, these Klansmen will be marching through the blistering summer heat on their way to a possible confrontation with Montgomery police officials. The Klan Grand Dragon says they're prepared to meet anything. For the night, they'll camp on private property and prepare for continuing their march tomorrow morning. With the Klan on their trip from Selma to Montgomery, Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News. The KKK spent the night on a 3-acre tract of private property that they leased. When Klansmen arrived yesterday afternoon, their first priority was pitching camp, an organized camp which included a makeshift shower, power generator, tents, and a fully equipped rolling kitchen. After sunset, it was rally time. Grand Dragon Bill Wilkinson lauded his Clavern's goals to reverse affirmative action and counter the civil rights efforts of the mid-60s. Wilkinson praised KKK youth camps, camps where segregationist philosophies are taught to children. The close of the rally was the Klan's cross-burning ceremony.
Behold the fiery cross, still breathing. All the troubled history failed to quench its hollow flame. It got burned by its
Morning, and more walking for Klansmen who've grown from their original 25 to 50 yesterday to nearly 100 in all. About 55 are marching at times. The Klan's plan is still to reach Montgomery Sunday. With the Klan on their route from Selma to Montgomery, Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News. It was 1965 when Viola Liuzzo was shot and killed while ferrying civil rights workers back to Selma from Montgomery following their historic march. Today, 14 years later, in a light, drizzling rain, some 50 Ku Klux Klansmen walked past the spot. Grand Dragon Bill Wilkinson gave little notice.
Well, I just hope the FBI don't have someone down there to shoot me like they did her.
Klansmen walked most of the day, stopping periodically for water and a short rest. One Klansman, Jerry Banks, a 32-year-old Selma resident, was arrested in that city yesterday for violating Alabama's new law prohibiting firearms near a public demonstration. Klan Grand Dragon Bill Wilkinson says that the arrest was illegally carried out, and they will go to court over that as well. A cross burning capped off the KKK rally last night. Wilkinson denounced the 1965 Civil Rights Act and promised to overturn affirmative action. Wilkinson says this must be done before blacks, Jews, and communists take over the United States. With the Klan on their way to Montgomery from Selma, Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News. It was another tremendous show of force on the part of Montgomery police, state troopers, Montgomery County sheriffs, and other law enforcement agencies as members of the Ku Klux Klan marched to within a mile of their campsite. Klansmen were ordered to drop clubs, knives, and other weapons before moving on.
I want to ask you at this time to lay down your clubs and anything that has a sign on it. Flags only will be left remaining.
Police searched all vehicles in the parade and confiscated over a dozen rifles, shotguns, and pistols. The drivers of the cars in which guns were found have been arrested and charged with violating Alabama's law prohibiting firearms within 1,000 feet of a demonstration. 8 men and 3 women have been booked and are being held at the Montgomery City Jail pending a $1,000 bond. Klan Grand Dragon Bill Wilkinson says Klan funds will be used to post the necessary bonds to release those taken in. None of the Klanspeople arrested or searched offered any resistance. The then unarmed Klansmen walked the remaining mile to their campsite where they plan a rally tonight. Montgomery Mayor Emery Fulmer says Klansmen may meet on the state property of the Capitol steps tomorrow, but must get there in unmarked cars and buses and may not step out into the street. Wilkinson says he still intends to walk into Montgomery.
We're not going home tomorrow. They can't provide some way for us to walk to the state capitol. They'll have to take us in. They seem to have found a way for us to march onto the campsite. I think they can find a way for us to march onto the capitol.
So you're going to attempt to march tomorrow anyhow?
Yep.
Litigation is underway in New Orleans where Klan attorneys are attempting an appeal of U.S. District Judge Robert Varner's denial of a temporary restraining order. Wilkinson offered no comment on those arrested and said he was not surprised at the number of police involved and has not been deterred from his original goal at all. Wilkinson has not said how or when he intends to walk to the steps of the Capitol, but that will come tomorrow morning. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News. Despite a promise by Montgomery Mayor Emery Fulmer that any KKK marchers attempting to come into the city would be arrested, Grand Dragon Bill Wilkinson gathered his followers at their campsite near Danley Field on the city's west side. Police had sealed off the area, forcing some of the Klansmen who had left camp earlier to organize a second march. The first group, led by Wilkinson, marched just over a mile before coming face to face with a wall of police and Chief Charles Swindle.
I'm Chief Charles Swindle, Chief of the Montgomery Police Department. You're in violation of the city ordinance, parading without a permit. I now arrest you for that violation. You are under arrest at this point.
The group was led into an adjacent parking lot where they were processed.
Leave me alone.
Coming out of that parking lot all at one time. Keep the media away from the process.
Bill, I'm connected to him.
Back over there.
About an hour after the first group had been stopped, the second wave of marchers walked into the same pocket of police, and with no resistance, they too were frisked and loaded into paddy wagons for the trip to the city jail. A local bonding company has posted the necessary bonds to release the Klansmen. Violation of the city's parade ordinance is a misdemeanor and carries a $500 fine and 6-month imprisonment upon conviction. Imperial Wizard Wilkinson says they will march again, but he doesn't say when. Police are remaining alert in case Klanspeople gather for that march today. The Ku Klux Klan had intended to end its 50-mile march from Selma to Montgomery here on the steps of the state capitol. It was 14 years ago that Dr. Martin Luther King, on these steps, rallied for black rights. The Klan intended to rally for what they call white rights. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News. On August 9th, about 40 members of the Ku Klux Klan began a 50-mile march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. The march, designed to retrace the steps taken by Dr. Martin Luther King and other civil rights protesters 14 years ago. Only the Klan planned to rally for white and not black rights. The march lasted 4 days through rain, blistering heat, and nighttime rallies. The march came to an end when nearly 200 robed members of the Klan marched into Montgomery on Sunday without the necessary permit to parade. Montgomery Mayor Emery Fulmer says application to march was submitted too late, and Klansmen were warned they would be arrested. The arrests were carried out without any resistance.
I'm Chief Charles Swindle, Chief of the Montgomery Police Department. You're in violation of the city ordinance, parading without a permit. I now arrest you for that violation. You are under arrest at this point.
Klansmen, surrounded by nearly 300 heavily armed police, allowed themselves to be frisked and loaded onto buses for the trip down to the city jail. There, they were booked and shortly afterward released as a local bonding company posted the necessary bonds. Earlier, Klan Grand Dragon Bill Wilkinson said that his group had been denied their rights, and he also charged police harassment. Wilkinson says Klan retained attorneys are working on all possible legal angles involved, but Montgomery Mayor Emery Fulmer says the arrests are clear and legal. Chris Grimshaw in Montgomery, Alabama. It was a busy afternoon yesterday for both law enforcement officers and members of the Ku Klux Klan. The marchers defied Montgomery Mayor Emery Fulmer's promise of arrest and walked right into a pocket of riot-equipped police. Police Captain K.M. Stevens today says a total of 152 people were arrested and charged with violating the city's parade permit ordinance. 11 were minors between the age of 11 and 17. Police say all of the Klansmen have been bonded out of jail and they are no longer believed to be in the city. Saturday, 23 people were charged with possession of firearms within 1,000 feet of a public demonstration. They too are now out of jail. Klan Imperial Wizard Bill Wilkinson indicated that his group would attempt another march on the city, but said it could be weeks or months away. Montgomery Mayor Emery Fulmer says, considering the firearms arrest and marching without a permit, he would have strong reservations about granting any further parade permits to this group. A rival Klan organization led by Alabama Grand Dragon Don Black marched in the city with permit and without incident 1 week ago. Black says Wilkinson and his group are hurting the image of the Klan, leaving the impression in people's mind that the Klan is violent. Black says his group attempts to stay within the law all the time. Wilkinson says attorneys representing his group are planning legal action against the city of Montgomery in connection with this weekend's activities. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News. According to Montgomery Police Captain K.M. Stevens, 152 KKK marchers were arrested and charged with violating Montgomery's parade permit ordinance yesterday. 11 of them were juveniles between the age of 11 and 17. All 11 juveniles are being held at a detention home in Montgomery. Hearings on their dispensation will begin tomorrow at the detention home before Circuit Court Judge John Davis. As for the 141 adults arrested, they will be handled in municipal court. Their misdemeanor charge could bring a maximum sentence of $500 and 6 months imprisonment. The Klan, too, has its legal action underway. Imperial Wizard Bill Wilkinson says Judge Frank Johnson overturned the city's parade permit in 1965, and that makes a difference.
We have had our rights repeatedly violated.
under a decision by Judge Frank Johnson, who is not known to be a Klan-loving judge. In '65, he has overturned the city's parade and march permits, stating that any march that is being conducted for your civil rights, there is no permit required, only that you notify the city, and the city has been notified.
An appeal of the motion challenging the city's permit requirements was turned down by federal judge Robert Varner and now pens before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. Wilkinson says other legal action is being considered, but he would not elaborate. The Klan says it will march on Montgomery again, an act that would require another permit. Would Mayor Fulmer consider this?
I would have some serious reservations about this group when they come in with shotguns, knives, clubs, semi-automatic weapons, and pistols in the quantity that we remove from this group. I'd have serious reservations about this.
Mayor Fulmer says, yes, it would have been cheaper on the city if they had just let the Klan walk on by even without their parade permit, but that would have set up a dangerous precedent, one that would have allowed and condoned the defiance of the city's ordinances, and Fulmer said that would not be tolerated. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.